excerpt from a short story that I've written last month, and it is inspired by Sylvia Plath's poem, Lady Lazurus. Trigger warning, there's mentioning of suicide. That's it. So it's Lazurus. Lazarus, that's your name, he said. He was 13 years old, and it was the first time he had ever spoken to me. As usual, I sat in the corner, lamenting my anger towards his father, the man who shattered my heart and drove me to put a bullet through my skull at the age of 20. That's not my name, boy. I intentionally lowered my voice, revealing my darkened teeth and widening my bloodshot eyes, trying to instill fear in him. But unlike the other kids who quickly got scared when they first saw my blood-soaked hair and disfigured body, the boy with silver hair and violet eyes pulled out a thin, muddy yellow booklet by Sylvia Plath and began to read aloud from it. Beware, beware, out of the ash, I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air. With a sarcastic turn, he said, ooh, scary. Such a rude kid, like father, like son. I grumbled under my breath and turned my back away from him. That was when I heard a chuckle, which soon developed into a long and loud laugh. This was the first time I had heard him and seen him laugh. Since the day the boy had moved into this house, a melancholy expression constantly draped over him. He rarely left his bed. His face was as ashamed as mine, and his limbs were as thin as the branches of birch trees. In contrast to his father, who roamed tirelessly, chasing after fleeting romances and breaking hearts, this boy evoked some sympathy in me initially. However, that compassion vanished the instant his father burst into his room, weeping at his bedside. It was then that I reminded myself that this was karma, the curse I had bestowed upon this heartless man who betrayed me, condemning his children to suffer for the betrayal he had committed. Indeed, karma had found its way. Lazarus, you've got beautiful hair, the boy said when he spoke to me for the second time. Were you born with this color, or you've colored your hair? Once again, sarcasm was lacing the tone of his voice. Yeah, I've dyed it. With my own blood. Wanna give it a shot? You could have lovely red hair like mine if you can find the gun your dad stashed in the safe in his study. I know the code, I suggested, hoping this boy would be either foolish or desperate enough to follow my advice, giving me the chance to exact the revenge I had been craving. That somehow made the boy laugh again, but a hint of bitterness twisted the corner of his lips after a while, and he said in a half-serious tone, I wish, so I can end this miserable life right now, but I can't even leave this bed on my own, not to mention climbing all the way to father's study and take the gun out. The nurses would have found me by then. That shocked me, to hear those words coming out of a 13-year-old boy. Does that hurt anymore? He asked, pointing at the gruesome hole on the right side of my head. I shook my head, but added, it's not fun, boy. I trapped in this house for eternity, not being able to leave this place or move on, reliving the same horror. Plus, I can never see the outside world again. It is a constant ache that can never be eased. I didn't know why I'd said that. I thought I hated the boy as much as I hated his father, and should be planting the idea that committing a suicide was a good choice instead of letting him learn the terrible consequences of it. Well, we're pretty much the same, the boy responded. The only thing is that I still feel the pain and you don't. So what's the point of living? I went silent after hearing those words. I didn't know how to respond while guilt of the curse I bestowed on his father started to grow. I hated that feeling, to find no satisfaction when karma was being served. How unfair that pain was once again inflicted on me, the victim. That's